The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, hisses, and electronic pulses. At the center of the massive dome, Fleet Admiral Zexstar of the Valdorian Empire stood before the holographic display, his 6 arms gesturing frantically at the data streaming across the translucent screen. "Impossible," muttered Ambassador Kreth, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's lights into rainbow patterns. "The humans vanished 20,000 years ago. Their entire species just disappeared." The data continued to scroll past, each line more disturbing than the last. Long-range sensors had detected a massive energy signature moving through the outer rim of the galaxy. The signature matched no known technology, but the quantum resonance patterns were unmistakably human in origin. "Show them the recordings," commanded Chancellor Voxen, the ancient leader of the Council. His voice carried the weight of 10,000 years of galactic politics. The holographic display shifted, showing grainy footage from a mining station on the edge of Sector 7. The timestamp indicated the recording was only 3 days old. In the black void of space, something moved. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than a distortion in the starlight, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. But, as the sensors adjusted and enhanced the image, a shape began to emerge. The vessel was massive beyond comprehension. It stretched for nearly 50 kilometers from end to end, its hull appearing to be made of some dark material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange energy patterns danced along its surface, creating an almost organic appearance as if the ship itself were alive. "The Phantom," whispered Dr. Yelena, the Council's chief xenobiologist. Her tentacles quivered with excitement and fear. They called it the Phantom. The last human transmission before they disappeared mentioned something about a phantom vessel. Admiral Zexstar nodded grimly. "Our intelligence archives confirm this. 20,000 years ago, human space was suddenly and completely evacuated. Every colony, every space station, every ship simply vanished. The only trace left behind was a single transmission from their capital world." The display changed again, showing an ancient audio file. The voice that emerged was distinctly human, speaking in their primitive but oddly melodic language. Automatic translators converted the words into standard galactic common. "This is the last transmission from Earth. The Phantom has returned from the deep dark, and we must go. We cannot stay. The galaxy is not ready for what comes next. We will watch. We will wait. And, when the time is right, we will return." Silence fell over the chamber. Even the most skeptical representatives felt a chill run through whatever passed for their spines. Commander Thexel of the Hegemony Defense Force broke the silence. His insectoid features were twisted with confusion. "Defense Force intelligence suggests the humans were a primitive species. They had barely achieved faster-than-light travel when they disappeared. Their technology was centuries behind our current capabilities. What could they possibly have developed in isolation? Perhaps we should be more concerned about why they left in the first place," suggested Ambassador Kreth. "What did they mean when they said the galaxy was not ready?" The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. For 20,000 years, the galaxy had prospered. Trade flourished between star systems, conflicts were resolved through diplomatic channels, and technological advancement had reached unprecedented heights. The various species of the galaxy had achieved something remarkable: peace. But now, with this phantom vessel moving through space like a ghost from the past, that peace felt fragile. "Sir," interrupted a junior technician, his voice cracking with nervousness. "We're receiving another transmission from the outer rim sensors. The vessel, it's changing course." Admiral Zexstar's blood ran cold. "Show me." The display updated with real-time tracking data. The phantom vessel, which had been moving in a straight line through empty space, had suddenly altered its trajectory. It was now heading directly toward the galactic core, toward the most populated regions of known space. "Estimated time of arrival to the Vega system?" asked Chancellor Voxen. 72 standard hours, sir. At their current velocity. The Vega system housed nearly 40 billion beings across 12 different species. It was one of the most important trade hubs in the galaxy, a shining example of interspecies cooperation and prosperity. "We need to evacuate," said Commander Thexel, but his voice lacked conviction. "Evacuate 40 billion beings in 72 hours? Ambassador Kretich's crystalline form flickered with disbelief. Impossible. Even if we had enough ships, which we don't, where would we take them? Chancellor Voxen raised his hand for silence. We will not evacuate. We will not run from shadows and ancient fears. I am authorizing a full military response. Admiral Zexstar, mobilize the Fifth Fleet. I want every available warship positioned between that Phantom and the Vega system. Sir, with all due respect, Admiral Zexstar's voice was carefully controlled, we have no idea what we're dealing with. Our weapons may be completely ineffective against human technology. Then, we'll learn, the Chancellor replied firmly. The galaxy has advanced considerably in 20,000 years. Whatever the humans were when they left, they cannot possibly match the combined might of 47 civilizations working together. As the Council began to debate emergency protocols and military strategies, Dr. Yelena quietly accessed the historical archives. Something about the human disappearance had always bothered her, a detail that didn't quite fit with the official records. The humans had vanished suddenly, yes, but not randomly. Analysis of their evacuation patterns suggested careful planning and coordination. Every human settlement had been abandoned within a standard week, but there had been no signs of panic or distress. Personal belongings had been left behind, but all technology and scientific data had been systematically removed. It was as if they had been preparing for this moment for years, maybe decades. Dr. Yelena's tentacles moved rapidly across her research interface, pulling up stellar cartography data from the time of human disappearance. She cross-referenced the location of human colonies with known astronomical phenomena and felt her 3 hearts skip a beat. Every human settlement had been positioned along what appeared to be a carefully planned route leading to the galactic edge. Not random exploration or colonization, but a deliberate path toward the void between galaxies. Chancellor, she called out, interrupting the heated debate. I need to show you something. The holographic display shifted to show Dr. Yelena's findings. The pattern of human settlements created a clear trajectory pointing toward the void, the empty space between the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy. They weren't running away, she said quietly. They were going towards something. Or someone. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. If the humans hadn't been fleeing in fear, if they had been moving with purpose toward some destination in the void between galaxies, then their return might not be the simple comeback of an extinct species. It might be the return of something far more dangerous. Admiral Zexstar checked his instruments again. The Phantom vessel was maintaining its course and speed, seemingly unconcerned about the massive fleet that was assembling to intercept it. Its energy signature was unlike anything in the galactic database, but there was something oddly familiar about the quantum resonance patterns. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're detecting similar energy signatures throughout the galaxy. Faint, but definitely present. What do you mean, similar signatures? It's as if there are other vessels, sir. Smaller ones, but with the same technology. They appear to be observing. The blood drained from Admiral Zexstar's face. If there were other human ships already in the galaxy, already watching, then the Phantom vessel might not be returning alone. It might be the vanguard of something much larger. How many? He asked quietly. Unknown, sir. The signatures are too faint to get accurate counts, but... The officer paused, his voice trembling slightly. Our best estimate suggests hundreds, possibly thousands. The Phantom vessel continued its relentless approach toward the galactic core, and, somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, invisible watchers prepared for humanity's return to a galaxy they had left behind 20,000 years ago. The great game was about to begin, and the other species of the galaxy were only just beginning to realize they might not be the players they thought they were. In the depths of space, ancient human technology stirred to life, and the Phantom vessel broadcast a single message on frequencies that had been silent for 20 millennia: we have returned. 3 simple words that would change everything. As the Fifth Fleet scrambled to intercept the Phantom vessel, deep space monitoring stations throughout the galaxy began reporting the same phenomenon. The faint energy signatures were growing stronger, more numerous. Whatever the humans had become during their 20,000-year absence, they had not been idle. They had been preparing. And, now, they were coming home. Captain Sarachen stood on the bridge of the Phantom vessel, though bridge was perhaps the wrong word for the organic-looking chamber that served as the ship's command center. The walls pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns, responding to her thoughts as much as her spoken commands. 20,000 years of evolution had changed both humanity and their technology in ways that would have been impossible to imagine in the old galaxy. Status report, she requested, and the ship responded by flooding her consciousness with detailed information about their approach to the Vega system. The Watchers had been monitoring galactic development for millennia, hidden among asteroid fields and nebula clouds, recording the progress of the younger species that had filled the void left by humanity's departure. What they had observed was both encouraging and troubling. "The Hegemony Defense Fleet is moving to intercept us," reported Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, his enhanced neural interface allowing him to monitor thousands of communication frequencies simultaneously. 47 capital ships, 1,200 support vessels. "They're scared." Sarah nodded, her augmented consciousness already analyzing the tactical data streaming through the ship's living network. The alien vessels were impressive by the standards they had left behind 20,000 years ago, but they were still thinking in terms of metal and fire, of kinetic weapons and energy shields. Humanity had moved far beyond such primitive concepts. "They still think in terms of war," observed Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiological specialist. Through her neural connection to the ship's vast database, she was reviewing everything the Watchers had learned about the 47 species now calling themselves the Galactic Council. "They see an unknown vessel and immediately assume hostile intent." "Can you blame them?" asked Commander Webb. "From their perspective, we're a ghost species returning from the dead with technology they can't understand or detect." Captain Chen turned her attention to the main display, though display was another inadequate term for the three-dimensional reality matrix that surrounded them. The Vega system spread out before them in perfect detail, every planet, every space station, every ship rendered in real time through sensors that could detect quantum fluctuations across vast distances. 40 billion beings lived in that system, representing 12 different species that had learned to coexist and prosper together. It was exactly what humanity had hoped would happen when they made the difficult decision to leave all those millennia ago. "Ma'am," interrupted navigation specialist Torres, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel. They're demanding that we stop and identify ourselves." Sarah smiled, an expression that would have been terrifying to anyone from the old galaxy. Her teeth had been replaced with something far more efficient, and her eyes held depths that seemed to contain starlight itself. "Open a channel," she commanded. Admiral Zextar stood rigid on his command deck as the transmission from the Phantom vessel came through. What appeared on his screen was definitely humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways that made his skin crawl. The being spoke in perfect galactic common, but there was something in its voice that suggested vast intelligence and equally vast power. "Greetings, Admiral Zextar of the Fifth Fleet. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Eternal Wanderer. We appreciate your concern for the safety of the Vega system, but we assure you that we mean no harm to the inhabitants." Admiral Zextar found his voice with some difficulty. "You will halt your approach immediately and submit to inspection. By order of the Galactic Council, no unidentified vessel may enter populated space." The human smiled, and Admiral Zextar felt his blood freeze. "We are not unidentified, Admiral. We are coming home." "The humans have been extinct for 20,000 years, Admiral Zextar declared, though he was no longer certain of that fact. "Not extinct," Captain Chen corrected gently. "Evolved." Before Admiral Zextar could respond, his sensor operator called out in alarm. "Sir! Energy readings from the Phantom vessel are spiking. And, sir, the other signatures we detected earlier, they're all converging on this position." On screens throughout the Fifth Fleet, impossible sights began to appear. Ships materialized from apparently empty space, their hulls shifting and changing as if they were alive. They moved with organic grace, their forms flowing like liquid metal or living tissue rather than rigid manufactured structures. Within minutes, the human fleet had completely surrounded the alien forces, though surrounded was perhaps the wrong term. The human vessels occupied the same space in ways that defied conventional physics, their exotic matter hulls existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Admiral," Captain Chen's voice remained calm and friendly, "we would like to speak with representatives of the Galactic Council. We have much to discuss." "You're threatening 40 billion innocent beings," Admiral Zextar accused, though his voice lacked conviction. The human vessels showed no aggressive postures, displayed no weapons, and had made no threatening moves despite their overwhelming tactical advantage. "We're protecting them," Captain Chen corrected. "As we have been for 20,000 years." The statement hung in space like a revelation. Through careful quantum manipulation, Captain Chen transmitted data directly to Admiral Zextar's ship, bypassing all their security systems with casual ease. The information that flooded their screens painted a picture of galactic history that none of them had suspected. For 20 millennia, the Watchers had been quietly preventing disasters. Asteroid impacts that would have devastated populated worlds had been mysteriously deflected. Plague outbreaks that should have spread across star systems had somehow contained themselves. Wars between species had ended with unexpected diplomatic breakthroughs when hostilities reached their peak. "You've been manipulating us," Admiral Zextar breathed. "We've been shepherding you," Captain Chen replied. The galaxy was indeed not ready for human presence 20,000 years ago. The younger species needed time to mature, to learn cooperation and peaceful coexistence. We removed ourselves from the equation to allow that growth to happen naturally. Dr. Yelena, monitoring the transmission from the council chamber, felt her understanding of galactic history crumbling and rebuilding itself. "The long peace," she whispered. 20,000 years of unprecedented stability and prosperity. It wasn't natural development. It was cultivation. On the main display, Captain Chen continued her explanation. "We didn't abandon the galaxy out of fear or desperation. We left because we could see what was coming. Humanity was evolving too rapidly, becoming something that would have made the other species irrelevant. By removing ourselves, we allowed the galactic community to develop its own strength and identity." "But why return now?" asked Admiral Zextar. "If your goal was to allow natural development, why interfere now?" Captain Chen's expression grew serious, and, for the first time, Admiral Zextar saw something that might have been concern in those alien eyes. "Because the threat we originally left to prepare for is finally approaching. And, despite 20,000 years of growth and development, the galaxy still cannot face it alone." Through the quantum link, images flooded the alien ships. Vast creatures moving through the void between galaxies, entities of pure energy and malevolent intelligence that consumed entire civilizations like cosmic locusts. They moved slowly by galactic standards, taking millions of years to travel between star systems, but their approach was inevitable. "The Devourers," Captain Chen explained. "They destroyed the galaxy that existed before this one, and the one before that. They move in cycles, consuming all intelligent life before moving on to the next target. We detected their approach 70,000 years ago and began preparing." The images showed human colonies throughout the void between galaxies, massive installations that defied conventional understanding of physics and engineering. Humanity had spent 20,000 years building defenses, developing weapons, and evolving into something capable of standing against cosmic-level threats. "The first scouts will arrive within the next galactic standard year," Captain Chen continued. "Their main force will follow within a decade. Individually, neither humanity nor the Galactic Council could stand against them. Together, we might have a chance." Admiral Zextar struggled to process the implications. Everything he thought he knew about humanity, about galactic history, about the nature of existence itself was being rewritten in real time. "Why should we trust you?" he finally asked. "How do we know this isn't some elaborate deception to justify conquest?" Captain Chen's smile returned, but this time it carried genuine warmth rather than predatory efficiency. "Because, Admiral, we could have conquered the galaxy at any point during the last 20,000 years. We chose not to." To prove her point, she transmitted tactical analyses showing exactly how thoroughly outmatched the alien fleet was. Human technology operated on principles that the Galactic Council's scientists would need centuries to even understand, let alone replicate. The Phantom vessel alone could have disabled the entire Fifth Fleet in minutes. Instead, the human ships began to withdraw, pulling back to a respectful distance from the alien forces. "We're proceeding to the Vega system to establish diplomatic contact," Captain Chen announced. "You're welcome to escort us if it would make you feel better, but we don't require permission to enter our own galaxy." As the human fleet moved past the alien ships with contemptuous ease, Admiral Zextar realized that the age of galactic innocence was over. Humanity had returned, but they were no longer the primitive species that had vanished 20,000 years ago. They had become something else entirely, something that might be humanity's salvation or its greatest threat. And, somewhere in the void between galaxies, ancient enemies stirred, drawn by the quantum disturbances of advanced civilization like sharks scenting blood in cosmic waters. The real test was yet to come. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been in continuous debate for 18 hours. Representatives from 47 species argued, pleaded, and demanded answers while Captain Sarah Chen sat calmly in the center of the chamber, her presence both reassuring and deeply unsettling to the assembled delegates. Chancellor Voxen struck his ceremonial gavel against the resonating crystal, calling for order. "Captain Chen, your claims about these devourers are extraordinary. You're asking us to trust that humanity spent 20,000 years preparing for a threat that may not even exist." "With respect, Chancellor," Sarah replied, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber without amplification, "the devourers are already here." The chamber fell silent. On the holographic display, new images appeared showing the outer edge of the galaxy. Dark shapes moved between the stars, too large to be ships, too organized to be natural phenomena. They absorbed light and energy, leaving trails of emptiness behind them like wounds in space itself. Dr. Yelena leaned forward, her tentacles trembling as she analyzed the data streaming through her instruments. "These readings, they're impossible. Those entities appear to be converting matter directly into energy on a massive scale." "Scout ships," Sarah explained. "The devourers send them ahead to map out promising galaxies and identify potential resistance. The main swarm follows once the scouts confirm the target is worth consuming." Commander Thexel of the Hegemony Defense Force studied the tactical implications with growing horror. "How many of these scouts are there?" "Current count suggests approximately 2,000, Sarah replied matter-of-factly. "Each one is roughly the size of a small moon and capable of consuming an entire star system's worth of matter in a matter of days." The numbers were staggering. Even if every ship in the galaxy worked together, they would be hopelessly outmatched by even a single scout, let alone thousands. "What about the main force?" asked Ambassador Kreth, though she clearly dreaded the answer. "Conservative estimates place the main swarm at approximately 15 million entities. They move slower than the scouts but are exponentially more dangerous. A single devourer from the main swarm could consume everything in this star system in a matter of hours." The silence that followed was deafening. 50 million entities, each capable of destroying entire star systems. The galaxy's total population across all species was barely 40 trillion beings. Against such overwhelming force, resistance seemed impossible. "Then, we're all going to die," whispered a delegate from the Smaller Worlds Coalition. "Not necessarily," Sarah said, standing and walking to the holographic display. With subtle gestures, she began manipulating the images, showing new data that made several delegates gasp in amazement. "Humanity has spent 20,000 years preparing for this moment. We've established defensive installations throughout the void between galaxies, developed weapons systems capable of operating on cosmic scales, and evolved our own capabilities to match the threat we face." The display showed human installations that dwarfed entire star systems. Massive ring structures that could generate artificial gravity wells, weapon platforms that could direct stellar-level energy outputs, and ships that existed partially outside normal spacetime to avoid conventional detection and attack. "But, even with all our preparations," Sarah continued, "we cannot face the devourers alone. We need the combined industrial capacity, scientific knowledge, and population base of the entire galaxy to have any hope of survival." Chancellor Voxen struggled to maintain his composure. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Alliance," Sarah said simply. "True alliance, not the cooperative trade agreements and mutual defense pacts that currently define galactic politics. I'm talking about complete integration of our civilizations for the duration of the crisis." The implications were staggering. 47 different species, each with their own cultures, technologies, and political systems, would need to work together more closely than ever before in galactic history. "You're asking us to trust a species that deceived us for 20,000 years, pointed out the representative from the Hegemony Alliance. "We're asking you to trust the species that protected you for 20,000 years, Sarah corrected. "Every major disaster that was mysteriously avoided, every war that ended just before it reached catastrophic levels, every plague that contained itself against all scientific prediction. The Watchers prevented countless extinctions and civilization-ending events." Dr. Yelena's research interface chimed with confirmation data. 20,000 years of mysterious interventions, all now explainable by hidden human involvement. The long peace hadn't been luck or natural development. It had been careful cultivation. "Show them the defense plans," Admiral Zextar said suddenly. He had been studying the tactical data Sarah had shared, and, despite his reservations about trusting humanity, he could see no alternative. "If we're going to work together, we need to know what you're proposing."
Sarah nodded and gestured again.
The display transformed into a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of glowing points marking strategic positions.
The Fortress Galaxy Protocol, she announced. We turn the entire galaxy into a defensive installation.
Every star system becomes a weapons platform, every planet becomes a supply depot, every major asteroid becomes a sensor station. The plan was audacious beyond imagination. Massive energy collection arrays around stable stars would power weapons systems that could engage targets at interstellar ranges. Artificial intelligence networks would coordinate defensive responses across the entire galaxy in real time.
Mobile defense fleets would use quantum tunneling technology to move instantly between threat zones.
The Devourers move slowly but inexorably, Sarah explained. They expect to encounter scattered resistance that they can overwhelm through superior numbers and technology. They don't expect to face an entire galaxy that's been converted into a single, unified defensive system. How long do we have? Asked Chancellor Voxen. The main swarm will arrive in approximately 9 standard years, Sarah replied. That gives us enough time to implement the basic framework of the Fortress Galaxy Protocol, but only if we begin immediately.
Commander Thexol was already running calculations in his head. The resource requirements would be enormous.
Every species would need to dedicate virtually their entire industrial capacity to the project.
Yes, Sarah agreed.
Which is why we're prepared to share our advanced technology freely. Fusion reactors that can be built in days rather than years, manufacturing systems that can convert raw matter into finished products with 98% efficiency, transportation networks that operate through quantum entanglement rather than physical movement.
The offer was unprecedented.
Technology that would advance galactic civilization by thousands of years, shared freely in exchange for cooperation against a common threat. What guarantees do we have that humanity won't use this cooperation to establish dominance over the galaxy once the threat is past? Asked Ambassador Kreth.
Sarah smiled, and, for the first time, it seemed genuinely human rather than unnervingly alien. None whatsoever. You'll have to trust us, just as we're trusting you with technology that could destroy us if misused.
The honesty was refreshing after hours of political maneuvering and careful diplomatic language.
There is another consideration, Sarah added. The Devourers aren't just a physical threat.
They're intelligent, adaptive, and capable of learning from their encounters. Every galaxy they've consumed has made them smarter and more dangerous.
This may be the last chance anyone has to stop them.
The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Not just the fate of their galaxy, but, potentially the fate of all intelligent life in the universe, hung in the balance.
Chancellor Voxen looked around the chamber, seeing the same realization dawning on every face present. I call for a preliminary vote. All in favor of opening formal alliance negotiations with humanity?
Hands, tentacles, appendages, and energy signatures rose throughout the chamber.
47 species voting unanimously for the first time in galactic history. Motion carries, Chancellor Voxen announced. May the cosmic powers help us all.
As the council began organizing committees and assigning liaison officers, Sarah stepped outside onto one of the station's observation decks. Through the transparent aluminum, she could see the Eternal Wanderer hanging in space like a dark jewel against the stars.
Captain's personal log, the first phase is complete.
The younger species have accepted our alliance proposal, though I suspect many still harbor doubts about our intentions.
They have good reason to be suspicious. Power on this scale has never been shared freely in galactic history. But they don't understand what we've become during our long exile.
Individual power, territorial control, species dominance, these concerns seem petty when measured against the cosmic scale of existence. We've seen what lies beyond the edge of the universe, and it has given us perspective that transcends primitive tribal thinking. The Devourers represent entropy in its purest form, the ultimate end state of any universe where intelligence fails to unite against chaos. Every species they've consumed thought they were unique, special, chosen by destiny to survive while others perished. None of them understood that survival requires evolution beyond the individual, beyond the species, beyond the concept of separation itself. Humanity learned this lesson during our exile. The other species of the galaxy are about to learn it as well. Whether they like it or not. Sarah turned away from the window as her communication implant chimed with updates from watcher stations throughout the galaxy. The Devourer scouts were accelerating their survey activities, apparently responding to the quantum disturbances created by human technology revealing itself.
The countdown had begun.
9 years to transform an entire galaxy into a fortress, to unite 47 different species into a single defensive organism, and to prepare for a battle that would determine the fate of not just their universe, but all universes that might come after. In the depths of space, ancient enemies moved with purpose toward the light of inhabited worlds, and the greatest challenge in galactic history was about to begin. But, for the first time in 20,000 years, humanity was not facing the darkness alone.